Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Rossman, and today we're going to be going over a disturbing trend where you buy a camera, but that camera doesn't work until you install an application, give it permissions to stuff on your phone, connect to the manufacturer's server, sometimes in China, and then after agreeing to all of this, then your camera will work. When you bought a camera, you used to take the thing out of the box, put batteries, film, an SD card in it, and it just worked. You could take video, you could take pictures, it worked. It was your camera, you could use it the way you want. But now when you buy a camera, you didn't actually buy a camera, you bought a limited license to use the camera the way the manufacturer told you to. Limited license. DJI grants you a limited, non-sublicensable license to access and use the product for their intended purposes only. You will not hack, crack, or modify the product, which unfortunately now is necessary. Here, I turn on this camera that I bought, right before sending it right back where it came from, and I can't use it. I have to activate it, which means scanning a QR code and downloading an application and giving it permissions on my phone, and just I don't want to do that. It asks for permissions that it just doesn't need for this purpose. I don't want to do it. And the same thing happened to Dave Jones with a camera that he bought.
So I got it straight out of the box and I turned it on, and this is what happens. Let's turn it on. Really excited. Oh, English? Yeah, no worries. Of course, you've got to go through the setup. Please download the Insta360 CCP spyware app in the App Store or Google Play to activate your camera. You can't even use this thing out of the box.
I'll confess I didn't watch the entire video, but I'm going to take a wild guess that Dave Jones sent this product back where it belongs. Firstly, before you defend the company for doing this, just install the application on your phone. Oh, it's not asking for your data. Oh, you're so paranoid. Before you run to defend a company that does not give two shits of a fuck about you, explain to me how this benefits you. How are you benefited by buying a camera that, instead of simply working out of the box, will not function until you install their application, give it your data, connect to their server, and activate it? There is no way that your experience with this camera is improved as a result of the requirement that you connect to their server. Insta said the following: "Hi, when using it for the first time, the camera needs to be activated through the app. The activation is a necessary process to ensure that the product that our customers receive is official and not fake. It is a method we use in order to protect your consumer rights." That is some really good gaslighting. They're telling you, we did this because we care about you. You're not my mommy. You're not my daddy. You're not the fucking intermediate school principal. So how about you let me use my camera and leave me the fuck alone? If I want to check if the camera's genuine, you could have a button that says, check if camera is genuine, confirm genuine camera, check for piracy, that I can click. And then on my own time, when I want to, if I want to, I can install your application and figure out if my camera's genuine. How about you let me decide whether or not that's a priority to me, rather than forcing it down my throat? You're not doing this for my benefit. You're not doing this to make sure I'm getting a genuine camera to protect my consumer rights. Protecting my consumer rights means protecting my right to use my product without having to go to mommy and daddy to get permission first. This company asked YouTubers that were reviewing their products if they would not disclose the fact that the video was a sponsored video prior to making it. They're not your friends. BlackBerry is your friend. Adorable little kitties are your friend. Not Insta360. How many ways do you think this could go wrong? I'll give you a couple of scenarios. Number one, for recording videos on YouTube, I almost never buy new products. My first camera that I bought that was high quality was an NEX EA50, which was very old. I have here a Sony Alpha A5100, also very old. I like to buy these things on eBay. Sometimes I buy products that are actually used, and sometimes they're products that simply have not been opened for 5 or 10 years. They're overstock devices. Now, let's say that you take this product out of the box, and it says it will not work without activation, but the activation server goes down, or that application no longer works with that older product. When does that happen, Louis? That happens never. It's not like a major multi-billion-dollar company would ever turn off a server to be able to activate a product that had a lifetime license it was sold with. Right. Secondly, we live in a very, very polarized society. So recently I did a video regarding this application, which is essentially Yelp for men. Men have responded by making Yelp for women. We have AI age verification now, where they will scan your information that you need to be able to utilize free websites. So there's a lot of sucking up people's personal information, rating people based on all this different type of stuff, lots of political polarization. What if you had an application like this, and what if the company selling the camera just says, here's a list of people I don't want using it anymore? You go to use your camera, you spend $500 for it, you put on all your information, and it says, sorry, we don't want you to use our product because we don't like people like you. We don't like people that play Charles Mingus on the jukebox on the first date. We don't like people that vote the way that you do. We don't like people that play the games that you do online. I'm sorry, you cannot use our products. By forcing this type of shit, you are allowing that to occur. That can happen. That cannot happen if you do not have this type of activation in order to use a piece of hardware. Because we're talking about hardware. We're not talking about software where we can have disagreements, but I can at least understand the concept behind when you buy it, it has a serial number. Because software can be copied millions of times over at no cost, that's why they have to do that, to make sure that you actually bought it. Here, it's a camera. Now, I know that you may be thinking, Louis, that's a slippery slope fallacy. How could you even, why do you always think about how things can go wrong? Have you not been paying attention? We live in a Black Mirror episode. And I'm not kidding. Black Mirror is not a prediction of the future. It's a documentary. Season 7, I believe, started being written around July of 2023. This is a video on my channel on June 2023. Planned obsolescence comes to brain implants. The dystopian future we're creating is scary. A brain implant was created by a company that went bankrupt, and rather than allow the person who had that brain implant to continue using it, they forced it to be ripped out of her head, at which point she no longer functioned the way that she used to. What was Season 7, Episode 1 about? Black Mirror doesn't predict the future. At this point, Black Mirror is a documentary. We live in one of those episodes. You know, when people talk to me about the slippery slope fallacy, I would take you seriously if we didn't live in a world where I have to tell you about one of the conversations that I was having yesterday. I had a heated conversation with one of the people that works with me at my nonprofit. It was very interesting because we're talking about the bounty program that we're putting together, and we're talking about some of the companies that have disabled products after the sale. And I'm talking about some old cases like the Lexmark case, and I'm very curious where the legal line is here. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how certain are we that certain items are actually illegal? There's a company that took away people's ability to use what they bought and paid for. They did this with thermostats. They did this again with exercise bicycles, and this is apparently totally legal. However, if our foundation pays somebody who then releases a solution to all of you so that you could use the product you bought and paid for again, that could be illegal. We had an argument about this. We're talking to lawyers about this. But the fact that that discussion even exists, that I'm asking a lawyer, hi, is it legal or illegal for us to unbrick a device that a manufacturer has bricked after somebody paid thousands of dollars for it? We live in a Black Mirror episode, and we have for quite a while. And I don't feel like giving these companies ammunition that'll get them closer to Season 8. It's not a slippery slope. It's reality at this point. Season 8, Episode 1 of Black Mirror. You buy a product, and every time you buy something, you have to use an app to activate it. I buy a water bottle. I scan the QR code on the water bottle in order to open the water bottle. They go to the T app and they see that at Casino El Camino, Louis Rossman kept playing the same Charles Mingus song on the jukebox on the first date. Sorry, no water for you. No, don't defend this. I promise they're not going to give you stock in the company. They're not going to give you a share of the profits. They're not going to give you a discount on the product. Here's how you can push back against that crap. When you buy this and when you return it, do not explain the reason as anything other than defective. Mark it as defective. Product does not work. Wanted to take video, would not let me take video. There's 2 reasons for this. The first is that it makes sure that the definition of defective remains sane. Because if you buy a camera and you can't use that thing out of the box without doing all this bullshit, that's a defect. Secondly, it fucks with their merchant statistics. So whoever they're using, let's say you're selling a product on Amazon or eBay, they want to know what the return reason is. Because if it's, I don't like the product or it was different than I thought it would be, then that sounds like it was the fault of the buyer. However, when you mark the product as defective, that makes it the fault of the seller. It fucks up their metrics and it forces them to change how they do things if they want to stay on the platform. It creates trouble for them. If you bought an Echelon exercise bicycle and you are within the return period, and before they updated the firmware, you were able to use third-party apps, but now you can't use a third-party app, don't say other third-party app doesn't work the way I wanted. Defective. They bricked a feature of the product. If you bought a future home thermostat and it's still in the return period and they pushed out a firmware update that requires that you pay for it, that's ransomware. That's not other, don't like the product, change my mind. That's defective. Make sure that when you return products like this, that you're returning them in a way that fucks with the manufacturer's metrics when you're doing so that they are hurt as much as possible. And don't put up with it. And thank you again for all the people that are continuing to edit consumerrights.wiki, make articles. You're not just changing a profile picture to a Clippy. You're actually putting in work. I respect that. It makes me very happy. It makes me feel like there's actually hope. Because there's a bunch of other shit we're going to be asking you to do over the next 3 to 4 years. And if you're willing to help me with this, it makes me feel like you'll be willing to help me with the rest too. Let's take back ownership and let's win. Remember, Clippy would never condition using a new camera on installing an application from China to activate it. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.
We also have the duty not to infringe the IP rights in the process. It is in fact the manufacturers who have the relevant rights, not consumers.